Live from the Talking Joe studios,
it's Talking Joe with Chief and Chris. Hey, it's me, the Chief Dog. I'm joined as always by my buddy.
It's me, Chris, aka Diagnostic AT from the Full Force, and of course this show.
It sure is, and I am delighted to say that hot on the heels of the fabulous Mr. Chad Bowers last week, we have another guest. You may know him from his comic book writing on X-Men 92, Deadpool Bad Blood, Ash vs Army of Darkness, amongst others. He's also a podcasting fiend. He might even do more than you, Chris. I don't know.
Absolutely.
And of course, he's a G.I. Joe fan, and is the excellent Mr. Chris Sims. How are you, sir?
I am doing great. I feel like most of that intro you had left over from last week. Chad was here.
I'm going to, straight off the bat, we've already had some issues with both of you being called Chris, so I'm going to instigate this right now. If you were a child growing up in the UK in the 80s or 90s, and your surname was either Simmons, Simpson, Simpkins, or Sims, you were known by everyone as Simo. So henceforth, on Talking Joe, you will be known as Simo. Is that okay?
Ooh.
It doesn't matter.
I don't know about that one.
Okay. It doesn't matter, because that's how it is.
All right.
Sorry,
Look,
I had
your
to.
show. You do what you want.
My only opportunity to go rock on your ass, so that was it.
Perfect. Very good.
Right, so we got
Simo.
Chris.
Talk about Roadblock.
Simo.
Talk about Roadblock from the movie with President Zartan.
Yeah, that's it. That's
that
it.
guy.
Okay, cool. So, first of all, we're going to start off with the beverage for the show.
Beverage for the show. Do-do-do-do-do-do. The beverage for the show. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Now I am gonna go do-do and drink my beverage for the show.
Insert sound clip here. Yeah, perfect.
So, I'm going to kick off this week. I have bought for the show a Miracle Peanut Punch flavoured milk drink. This is a...
What's the miracle about it that they actually made the product in the first place?
That is the brand. It just says source of protein, and it's got some peanuts on it. Homogenized UHT processed.
Ugh.
So I'm going to open... Basically, it's one of those ones, cartons with a straw, but I've lost the straw. So I'm going to now have to... It says shake well, so I'm shaking it well. I've got a pair of scissors here. I'm going to cut a little... that's always key there, cutting it without spilling it. Cut it, pour it into my Batman travel mug. And let's have a go on this. Let's have a go. Yeah, peanutty and milky.
I can taste it already in my own mouth.
Like that. Peanut Punch Miracle. What about you, fine boys? Did you manage to get any beverages for the show?
After you, Chris. Or Simo.
I am actually having a kombucha right now. So I'm very fancy.
I know nothing about that.
My wife loves kombucha, and I just have never been able to take to it.
This is actually my wife's as well, but we get it from a local person at the farmers market.
Nice.
And theirs is really tasty. And my wife Aiden told me about how when she had tried it before, she had it from a friend who made it in his bedroom.
Sweet.
And so she was like, yeah, for years I thought kombucha just tasted like socks.
Okay, hold up. What is kombucha? I am clearly ignorant of this product.
It's like a fermented
fermented tea, isn't it?
Beverage.
Yeah.
It's not alcoholic.
Okay. But
it
don't
tastes
make
alcoholic for me. It's got this really kind of intense kind of socks taste to it. It's weird, but again, it's not for that kombucha. Just I've never been able to grasp it. My taste buds have never been able to kind of succumb to it.
Well, what I'm drinking is quite good. It is, I believe it's like berry lavender. I think it's
nice.
It tastes delicious.
Wild.
We had one last week that was very kind of vegetable-ish and peppery.
Yeah.
But this one is like drinking a shrub, if you've ever had one of those.
Was it the vegetable and pepper flavour that you were talking about from last time?
No. This one's good. This one's good.
Awesome. I, on the other hand, am rocking a. This is also gonna sound really pretentious, like I've added things to it, but I haven't. This is just how it comes. It's an Arizona product, and it is a Arizona green tea with ginseng and honey. But that's obviously you buy it like that. Like, I know people instantly are thinking, I've added the ginseng and honey because I'm that kind of person. But no.
Yeah, you're basically.
Yeah,
that's the kind of thing you do.
Pretentious a-hole. But no, that's just how it comes, and it's very smooth and lovely. Have you ever had that before, Chris?
I have. It's good stuff.
It is, isn't it?
I'm not a big tea drinker.
Yeah.
Only when I'm sick. I'm a coffee guy through and through.
I mean, that's America and the UK in a nutshell, though, isn't it? It's like the US is a massive coffee consumer, and I would say the UK obviously is a huge tea drinking nation.
Yeah, I have heard that.
So no one ever mentions it on any media, do they? It's weird.
Fact. It's there. Mr. Simo, you better introduce. I've given you an introduction, but let's talk us just very briefly through your love of G.I. Joe, which is obviously why you're here to discuss some G.I. Joe comics with us. So just...
I actually forget that we do that.
Yeah, exactly. We got too many segments, man. Talking about G.I. Joe comics is just one of them, but let's hear it. Why G.I. Joe? Why the fandom?
Unlike a lot of people, I feel like I didn't get like hardcore into G.I. Joe until I was an adult.
Nice.
Like, I remember watching it. I had a couple of the toys. I never really read the comics as a kid, but when I was, working at the comic book store in my early 20s, I got into the comics because they started doing those big, complete collection paperbacks.
Yeah.
And I always had, I had fond memories of the franchise, just not, specific memories.
Yeah.
Until I was, doing that. And at the same time, I got, the entire series, and I would watch the show, while I worked. And in fact, my Twitter icon on the bad website, Twitter, since 2008 has been a screenshot of Destro that I took from an episode when I was working at the comic book store. That has been my Twitter icon, and my icon on almost everything except Skype for 11 years.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, update your Skype, man. That's all I'm saying.
I have seasonal variants of it that were made by a friend of mine, Matthew Allen Smith, Team Smithy on Twitter. He drew a Santa hat and beard.
Brilliant.
For winter. He drew Destro as a Dracula for Halloween, and I put weird big anime eyes on him for Valentine's Day.
That's amazing.
But other than that, I've only ever changed it once. I used Royalton from the Speed Racer movie for about a day when everyone that I changed their icons to characters from Speed Racer. But yeah, I was surprised because in my life I've gone back to a lot of shows and comics that I liked when I was a kid, because I have been a pop culture writer and writing in comics and comics criticism and comics reviews and humor along those lines for years. But a lot of times I go back to stuff and it's not as good as I remember it, which I think is a common experience. In a lot of ways, G.I. Joe is better. I remember watching the cartoon more than anything else as a kid, but going back and watching it as an adult, that show rules. That show is it's super smart. It's genuinely funny in a lot of places. It's cleverly done. I always talk about Cobra's Candidate, which is a really, really great episode that you'd think is going to go one way and have the very simple story for kids, which is that, there's a politician and he's very anti-crime and anti-Cobra and Cobra's coming after him. And then the bit is that it turns out that that's a trick. Yeah. The Law and Order candidate is secretly in bed with the terrorist organization.
You look like something the cat declined to drag in.
And of course, everyone has always talked about there's no place like Springfield. And I was going back and doing this big G.I. Joe rewatch at the same time as I was going back and watching The Prisoner. Yeah. Which is the Rosetta Stone for comics in the 80s.
It's so true. For me, it was Worlds Without End. That was the Sunbow defining kind of little two-parter that was I just thought was amazing.
Then it's true. Somehow we did a Rip Van Winkle.
And while we were asleep, Action Force were defeated by Cobra.
Oh yeah, that thing's awesome. That's the parallel universe one, right?
Yeah, it's that machine that turned the antimatter machine that kind of turns things into tissue paper, and the Dreadnought stealing it from that installation, and then the Joe's tracking them down and then setting it off on that bridge, but then it turns out to be, it sends them back into this parallel dimension. It's so when you read it out like that, it sounds ridiculous, but the actual the actual episode is so well done and just amazing. So yeah, that one for me is like up there as I think one of the best kind of stories that the Joe universe has had.
Yeah, the only thing that I don't like about the show is that there's not a good proper Christmas episode. Like, there is a Christmas episode, but it's not great.
That one,
but I think they make up for that by having the Winter Solstice episode.
Yeah.
Which is where you find out that Destro has a Cthulhu in his basement.
Exactly. Oh, I actually thought it's funny that you mentioned the Christmas episode, because that's the one screenshot everyone uses in the Joe fandom when it's Christmas. It's that one of Cobra Commander with like Merry Christmas behind him on like the G.I. Joe headquarters, and it's like everybody uses that. It's like I must see it like 50 times on my timeline around Christmas time. It's like, yeah, the G.I. Joe needs another Christmas show, doesn't it? Renegades did one, but I don't think anyone ever uses that.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, because that was such a good show.
It's an amazing show.
But like the show, I think, really holds up, especially when you compare it to, like, I've since gone back. Like, I'm also a really big fan of Jim.
Yes.
And the holograms.
Same.
I've watched a little bit of Transformers. Chad's more of a Transformers guy than I am by far. But if you go back and you compare G.I. Joe to like He-Man, He-Man's really stupid. He-Man is bad.
How many reuses do they use as well of like background scenes and animation like loops and stuff like that? I mean, there's so many, like each episode is probably made up of like maybe 2 minutes of original footage.
Yeah. And I feel like G.I. Joe is made, weirdly enough, the cartoon, I feel like, is made by people who care about a little more than just selling toys.
Yeah.
Even though that's what they're there to do. And it's very evident that that's what they're there to do.
Totally.
So I got back into the show at first, and that's when I read the comics. And, I've since read... I'm not current because I haven't read the current series in a while. I kind of wait for 20 or 30 issues to build up. So I think I'm up around 200, and I think 256 is out now. I definitely read the story where the new Snake Eyes showed up, which was hilarious.
Yeah.
But, I would put the classic, the stuff we're talking about now, like the Larry Hama stuff, I would put that up against any of the long runs that Marvel had in the 80s.
Totally,
It's not like as groundbreaking as X-Men was, it's not as good as Walt Simonson on Thor was, but like it's so consistent and so enjoyable, and again, so much better than it had to be.
Yeah.
And when I found out, I'm almost positive Chad mentioned this to you guys, but there was that thing that went out a while back that was a document from Marvel in the 80s. It was like a shooter document.
Yes.
And it had like the sales figures, like what are the most important comics for Marvel in terms of like subscriptions and sales. And G.I. Joe was number 1 and Amazing Spider-Man was number 2.
That is amazing. Holy crap.
Yeah, I managed to get, I got some figures from John Jackson Miller, I think it is, who runs the Comicron site about figures and data for comic book sales. And he sent me a snapshot of sales figures, and, around 85, 86, it was Marvel's top, like you mentioned, it was Marvel's top selling book. I think X-Men was potentially selling more, but in terms of importance, G.I. Joe was their number one brand.
Yeah, and it looking at that comic, that makes so much sense, because that is a comic. Back in the 60s, there was the thing about how if you were making comics, you had 2 years with your audience.
Yeah.
And so companies like Gold Key and Dell, they would just they would literally start series over every 12 or 24 issues and just like do 3 rounds of reprints in the series, which is mind-boggling when you're, say, working at a comic book store and your job is to put back issues together.
And if you attach a toy franchise to it as well, you've got even less time, really.
Yeah, but G.I. Joe really is a comic where you could have started reading that book at 10, at 9 or 10, because you liked the cartoon and you liked those characters and you wanted to, see what your favorite toys were doing. And if you were like 14, 15, 16, like that's still a good comic.
Yeah, big time.
Like it would have hooked you in because, people cared about making a good story. They cared about character. They cared about like what they were doing. Like it's very obvious what Larry Hama cares about and what he doesn't care about.
Oh, totally. I mean, there's so many, in fact, in I think recent issues that we've looked at, in the last couple of weeks, there's one that stands out to me in the way that, I mean, look at the way, well, I don't want to give it away in what we're about to read, but there's a big moment where he, I suppose, sets up a big cull to, obviously with some characters that I think he was, happy to get rid of. But I mean, the fact that Tiger Force only got one issue and then sporadically had a few vehicles in and around that issue, the fact that there was a what's his name? Oh crap. There was one that stands out to me recently, Chief. I can't remember which one it was, but there's one character that hardly, that you get. There's like one little bit that they're kind of in, and then you never see them again. In actual fact, it was one that Larry didn't even write, where Crystal Ball shows up in that special mission.
Oh, yes, yeah, that was Herb Trimpe wrote that. Yeah,
and it's like it's almost as if Larry said, "Well, I'm not going to bother with this one because you get someone else to write this one."
But he was very good. He was obviously under a lot of pressure from Hasbro to include all these toys in the comic. But he was very good, like you mentioned, at giving them a little bit of airtime and then just moving on. I've done my piece with that. But he even made
working in things like Snake Eye's costume, which we talked about with Chad. Working that in to explain why there's a new figure out with a new costume and all that kind of stuff. I mean, crazy.
I have a question for you, because obviously I haven't heard it. I don't think the episode is out by the time we're listening to this.
No,
did Chad talk about that comic where Snake Eyes turns off the ninja and he's just a commando now?
No, we with Chad we discussed issues 93 to 96.
Okay,
so kind of the prologue to and the Snake Eyes trilogy.
This is much, much later. It's like from the Devil's Due stuff.
Oh, right. Wow.
Oh, right.
It goes to IDW. There's like a comic where Snake Eyes had some bad ninja experiences, so then he turns off the ninja. Like he goes into his brain and stops being a ninja.
Do you know what? I vaguely remember that because there was I remember a splash page of him wearing his commando uniform again, like with the kind of Archer turtleneck, but the kind of ribbed sweater, holding the Uzi, and he's got the old school commando mask on. I vaguely remember that. Oh my god, I need to read that again.
Well, no, don't hold up there, Chris, because if this podcast goes long enough, we will get to that eventually.
We'll get there soon.
You'll have one of us back.
You
that.
both come on for that
definitely.
one. Yeah.
Delightful little bit of comics.
Cool.
But the way that the story interweaves in this book, and again, that's something that you really got in particularly Marvel books in the 80s, was they would give people these long runs. Everybody who was on a Marvel book was on it for at least, if you had a 12-issue run, that was a short run on a book.
Yeah.
And so you get stuff like Claremont on X-Men for 17 years, weaving these stories back and forth.
Yeah.
Simonson on Thor for 5 years, 6 years, and every couple pages the scene shifts and there's all these interweaving stories. And you get that with G.I. Joe in a really interesting way because it has such a huge cast.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, yeah.
And people forget that Larry was not just a writer, he had actually held, writer, penciler, inker, editor, colorist. He had literally done it all in his career when it got to that point of him writing G.I. Joe. So it wasn't just, let's get Larry on just to write the book. He took control of that thing, didn't he, from the ground up, really?
Yeah, he did the roughs for 21.
Yeah. He's done that for a few issues, hasn't he? He's done a couple of interiors
26
where
as well, yeah.
Well, also he'll do like that for the artists, won't he? Like he'll almost draw out some of the panels and then be like, make this, do what you do with this kind of thing. To give
I was under the impression he still does roughs for the covers.
Yeah.
Because I think IDW sell like a variant of Larry pencils for each issue.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong.
No, occasionally in recent years, yes, that has been happening. I haven't seen many Larry Hammer variants in the last maybe year or so, but yeah, there definitely has been doing that.
Yeah. Okay, well...
So you get that sophisticated storytelling style, and then you get stories that are themselves very sophisticated. And it's not just Larry either. Like we talked about, you mentioned Special Missions earlier, and there's that issue of Special Missions with the Nazi war criminal that is very intense for a book that is essentially for 12-year-olds.
Yeah, there's huge adult themes running through it, and really intense language and deep, really, I don't know, just kind of very high level vocabulary and things that you're just not going to understand at that age unless you do some research on it. It's crazy.
Yeah, stuff you probably weren't getting in the Avengers at that time, I don't think.
It's one of those comics that absolutely refuses to talk down to its audience,
yes.
And I really, really appreciate that.
Yeah.
As someone who really sees the value in comics for all ages that aren't just a code word for comics for kids, but are literally comics for all ages audiences.
Yeah.
Like G.I. Joe is that book. It's as rewarding to read in my 30s as it was in my 20s and as it would have been in my teens.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Which I think is going to come back in what we're going to talk about now, because number 100 is, I think, my single favorite issue of G.I. Joe. I don't think it's the best one. I think we all know what the best one is.
Yeah.
But,
you say that. Anyway, before we do get onto those, we'll take care of a few things. We do, unfortunately, have to go inside Chief's mind. But before we do that, Chris, what have you been... This is Chris M, because obviously you're Simo over there. Chris, what have you been up to this week? Anything special?
I mean, there's kind of been like a sporadically random large amount of news coming out from G.I. Joe recently. And again, I won't go into detail here, but obviously there's this new kind of G.I. Joe game that's kind of appeared in Thailand that is available only in Thailand, I believe, at the moment. But you can obviously yoink it and play it using the file that's available online. But that is like one of those kind of like Command and Conquer style kind of mobile games. And,
wicked.
And it's got a very animated vibe, so there's a lot of kind of over-exaggerated characterization of some of the vehicles and characters. But it kind of looks really fun. One of my co-presenters, Justin Bell, has been playing it, and he thinks it's really fun. And yeah, we don't know when we're going to see that worldwide release, but again, that popped up recently, so that was a news burst. Then there was the Mattel getting the Top Gun license, which was a cool little news burst, which we kind of jumped on as well. And there's just been kind of like this sporadic random things that are just popping up every now and again that we feel like we have to jump on and talk about. And other than that, just, I suppose, working as well in and around all that stuff. And I got a very lovely email via yourself, Chief, from your auntie.
Yeah, my auntie in Australia who listens to the show, and I will categorise that in that she listens to the first 10-15 minutes and the last 5 to 10 minutes. She has no interest in comics or G.I. Joe, so she listens to the preamble and the closing.
Well, I was very appreciative of her comments about my exercise-induced migraine thing, which has been I think, like, probably since we're kind of a teenager, kind of mid-teens to today. And that is that I get this really weird, horrible, like, eye thing where it looks like they call it an aura. You're looking through a imperfection in glass. I've described this already. Then that passes and this horrible migraine builds. And it comes about from from overworking myself, like, exercise-wise. So, yeah, it's just a real pain in the ass. And it happens... When it happens, it takes out about 3 to 4 hours of my day. Sometimes more, as it happened the other day when I was asleep till about 5 in the evening, or tried to sleep it off. Anyway, she had some words of advice. She said, as soon as you start to see the dots and stars, take 2 Panadol, put a damp cool cloth over your eyes, lie down and keep very still for 20 minutes. Chemically, it stops neurons from firing further or some other such stuff, but it works every time. Light is a trigger for me. So basically, I do have to say I have tried a similar thing in the past that didn't work, but I think I'm gonna give it a run next time it happens, and I'll let her know if it has any, if it helps or not. So thank you, Auntie Jenny.
Boom. Big time. I'll just run through what I've been up to very briefly. I went to, and basically, listeners out there, you are hearing this. This is the past, because we are efficient and we're actually 1 week ahead of schedule recording. So everything that we're mentioning is actually a week old. But I went to London Film and comic convention at the weekend, picked up some commissions, a couple of pieces by Transformers artist Jack Lawrence. Got a Ghost Rider riding a mobility scooter sketch by Phil Winslade.
That's what it is.
I got had a chat with Mark Russell, who is the DC writer on the short-lived Prez and Snagglepuss, Flintstones, and Wonder Twins. I think, Simo, you're quite high on Wonder Twins. I've not.
Oh yeah.
I've not tried it myself.
All of this stuff has been incredible. I loved Prez. Flintstones is maybe the most unexpected, brilliant comic I've ever read in my life.
Yeah, I mean, I read issue 1 and then was like, right, I'm in, so I'll get the trade, and never got around to it. So that is definitely off the back of this episode. I'm going literally to order that trade. But he had no queue, he had no books on his table. It was literally just a name plaque behind him, and he just sat there kind of just on his phone. So when I've had like a 15-20 minute chat with him, and a real nice guy, and then I topped off the day by going over and having a chat with the $1 Million Man, Mr. Ted DiBiase himself.
Nice.
Which was really cool.
I have a terrible story about meeting the $1 Million Man.
Oh no, terrible as in he comes off in a bad light.
No. He's great in the story. I come off like a real idiot.
Well, that's tough. But man, you can't. Well, you got to tell it now.
I was in an airport. I was in PDX, the airport in Portland, and I was drinking like a bottle of tea, and I dropped it. And so I'm sitting on these little benches, and I kind of like reach back, and I'm stretching, and I can't reach it. And I'm sitting there like I'm flying, so I'm literally like in Zubaz and a t-shirt, and I'm like, oh, I gotta get up and get this. And I say that out loud to my wife, and then I look down, and a hand, it's like a movie, a hand comes into view with a WWE Hall of Fame ring on it. Nice. And picks up the bottle and hands it to me.
Oh, that is amazing.
You should have kissed the ring, man.
Well, I don't remember doing this, but apparently I stood up and said, "Sir, it's an honor."
Did you salute him as you did it as well?
According to my wife, yeah.
That is
that's
brilliant.
Good. I like that.
That is brilliant.
I like that.
Just a real dork over here.
And then just before getting home, I popped into the comic book store, new comic book day. And again, these are all a week old for all the listeners, but they're new today. I picked up Batman Who Laughs #7, which finishes off the miniseries. So I'll need to go back and reread that. I picked up issue 2 of the, what's the Snyder Capullo book? Last Night on Earth. Mm-hmm. Number 2 of that. I picked up Death's Head #1 from Marvel, which I read on the train home. Teenie Howard and Kai Zama. Really like the book, love Death's Head. But God damn it, Wiccan and Hulkling sharp, and I hate those guys. So that tempered my enthusiasm for the issue, but it was good. I'm going to get the next issue.
Kai Zama's art is unreal.
Yeah, she is great. And I picked up a few other bits, but to read after this, and that is all the good stuff. So unfortunately, that does mean we've got to go
inside Chief's mind.
So what is grinding my gears, me off, annoying me this week? It is people. That's it.
Stop there. Just stop there.
It's people who are driving a car or a vehicle of some kind, and I'm a pedestrian. I'm at the pedestrian crossing, the traffic lights. They're not looking, and they carry on driving even though the lights have gone red, and then they stop right in the middle of the crossing. They can't go forward because there's a bit of a traffic jam. There's a car right in front of them. They can't go back because there's a car behind them. So now they're just literally stuck blocking the pedestrian crossing because they've not been paying attention. And so that happened to me literally twice today, once on the way to work, once on the way home. And what I like to do is I like to walk across the road, tutting and shaking my head whilst looking at them, maybe mouth something like, "You clown," or something like that. I'm not an aggressive, angry person, but I like to, I just play a bit of mind games. Mouth
not according to the
them.
amount of Inside Chief minds we've done.
Maybe
I'll flip
them off. Maybe if I'm feeling a little bit fruity, I'll take my phone out and pretend to take a photo of them or something like that. And just to get a reaction from him. But I mean, and this guy was on his phone at the time while he's driving, not paying attention, which made it even worse.
He probably went on his podcast to complain about people who have a real go at me when I've accidentally gone over the pedestrian crossing.
Just pay a bit more attention, man. Just, you know what I mean? It's just annoying me. I did actually have a separate What's Inside My Mind this week that I was going to come out with, but this happened to me literally as I was coming home Spain this morning, so the one I had saved up will be used next week. But anyway, right, we're going to dive into some comics, but wait a minute, I hear something.
It's a G.I. Joe pop quiz. It's a G.I. Joe pop quiz. Question 1.
We haven't had one of these for a while. This is for Simo. This is a special G.I. Joe pop quiz for Simo.
Ooh, all right.
You're having a leisurely Sunday walk. You're walking along with your good lady. You stop at a pop-up ice cream vendor. Wait a minute, I don't remember this being here. You decide you're going to get an ice cream. There's 3 people serving on this ice cream stand. Who do you decide to go to get your ice cream? Do you choose an ice cream from Zorana?
I knew you were going to say Zorana.
An ice cream from Bazooka? Or do you choose the ice cream to be made by Snowjob?
I mean...
That's a toughie.
Yeah, is there a right answer, or is this just a...
Well...
Yes, there is.
Okay.
I don't know. I'll decide after you answer. I think Zorana's going to shortchange you with the cone, isn't she, to be honest?
She'll probably also poison it.
Yeah.
So...
But I mean, Zorana does...
But she's open to bribe.
She has history with sweets, at least. So if it's like a chocolate donut shaped or flavored
or it'll be
a
grape ice lolly. That's what it'll be.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll go with Zorana. That's where my head's at today.
Nice.
What do you say, Chris? Is that the right answer?
I would have gone with Bazooka because I think he's going to give me one of them screwball things with the little bubble gum in the bottom of it.
And looking at his later iteration in IDW, he's a fat so he's
good with ice cream. Yeah. Although I'd go to the dairy-free one just next to it.
Yeah, because you're an awkward. Anyway, ding, ding, ding. Right answer. We're going to go Zorana. Anyway, it is now time for some comic talk.
Wait, why is it Zorana, though?
Why is it Zorana? I don't know, just because you're the guest and ding, 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 you're right. I don't want to, we don't want to get off on a bad foot.
Don't want to ruffle any feathers here, yeah.
No, I think Zorana, I go Zorana as well, because she's open to bribes. I slip her a little something under the counter, cash I'm talking about.
Oh, right, okay, sure.
And, she makes it a big one for me.
Whoa!
You know what I'm saying? A big.
You know that, like, in an ice cream shop, you could just ask for a larger ice cream and give them money, and they will give you a larger ice cream.
We're from the UK, that doesn't happen.
It's all about bribes and under-the-counter kind of backdoor dealings.
Buddy, in America,
I know,
you get the largest ice cream you want.
Here's your bucket o' ice cream. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. We actually now are going to talk comics because it's time for Comic Talk.
Comic talk, oh, comic talk. Larry Hama writes them, Chief and Chris discuss them, whoa. Comic talk, oh, comic talk. Larry Hama writes them, Chief and Chris discuss them, whoa.
Right, this week we are going to be discussing Real American Hero issues 97 to 100. This is kind of ish an arc. I know it kind of spills over the Millville stuff, but it's enough of a 4-issue kind of arc for us to discuss, I think, as one piece. There are two kind of storylines here amongst these issues. One is the Clutch rock and roll brainwashing, and obviously the second is Cobra's invasion of Millville and the return, obviously, of Cobra Commander. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, spoiler alert. That's tough if you haven't read those. We told people to do their homework and read these issues. At least I think we did. Let's have a quick look at the covers. Issue 97, I've got in front of me, is an Andy Kubert cover.
Beauty.
I guess before he was on the X-Men book. And this is rock and roll, smoking barrels. There's a Mountie in the background and some other dude in the foreground. Is that another Mountie? I like this cover.
Has
it's
he
pretty
been
good.
crawling through barbed wire again? Rock and roll. Every element of clothing is ripped. Yeah.
But he is debuting his new outfit here, I guess.
Yeah.
We haven't seen this before, I don't think.
Not that I can recall. I could be wrong, though. But yeah, I love this version of rock and roll. It's amazing. It's almost like this is my version of rock and roll because I think I missed the first one when I was a kid. So yeah, this was my rock and roll.
Issue 98 cover. This is by the excellent Lee Weeks. But we thought you were dead. And there's a big leg in the foreground and a load of villainous bad guys down below. Like this cover?
It's also pretty cool as well, yeah.
Issue 99 is, this is called The Calm Before the Storm. Two Joes have been brainwashed by Cobra and they're about to enter the pit. And this is Lady J. What vehicle is she on there? Diagnostic.
Rolling Thunder.
Rolling Thunder. And is that sci-fi on one of the guns?
Correct.
New version sci-fi, and then Flint as well.
Well, actually, that's just the original sci-fi.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
The new version of sci-fi, version 2, was a completely different look, and that was in the 91, I think. But yeah.
All right, okay. I cede to your expertise. And in issue 100, Seeds of Empire. And I'm back. And there he is, the big man, CC. With I'll tell you what I love about this, when he's wearing like a sword in a scabbard.
Yeah. Proper ceremonial.
Yeah. I love that look. Great cover. This is Larry Hama is scripting obviously all of these. You've got Mark Bright is penciling 100, and I think he's also doing 98. Herb Trimpe pencils 99, and Jeff Isherwood is actually the artist on 97. So you got a bit of a mixed bag here, but yeah, good stuff. Where should we begin? I don't know.
At the beginning.
All right, let's, like we say, I think we're just going to pick and choose key bits from this run.
That first splash page as you go into that G.I. Joe comic is epic. I mean, it is so much text, but it is all like written in such a way that it's just like part of the artwork. It's just amazing. I love it.
Oh, the one where Clutch and Chuckles
pinned down,
huddled behind a car. Yeah, it gives this. It's this thing which Chad was surprised about that he hadn't picked up on, is that pretty much every page one of any Larry Hama G.I. Joe comic is always a splash page, and that was something that Chad hadn't really considered or noticed. But yeah, another great single splash page here. Just exposition of telling us G.I. Joe advisors what was happening here. They're advising their friends north of the border, and they've come across an enclave of Cobras, and it turns out they're actually shipping Terradrome parts.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then this is where you see the rock and roll with his new double. What are they? I don't know what they are. I watched Predator the other day, actually off the back of one of the episodes we talked about, and it's kind of like they're not really mini chain guns, are they? They kind of
Well,
are.
they are. There's just more of them.
Yeah.
This gun that rock and roll has brought to Canada is bonkers.
It is bonkers.
Like full on ridiculous. It's huge, and he's got 2 of them.
Yeah, and who feeds that ammo belt? Where does that come from?
He's got a backpack, thankfully.
Okay. My favourite bit of his outfit is, I'm looking at one here a few pages in, his hat, he's got an ammo belt round, it trims his hat.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Like, he's never running out of ammo, basically. That's what he wants to make sure. But I love how overkill he is as well. Like, it's just like, okay, well, let's hold these guys down. Done. Is everyone dead yet? Pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's crazy.
He loves it. And now you're thinking, holy jeepers, when this guy gets brainwashed back to the pit, there's going to be chi rubble. But,
I don't think anyone thought that, by the way. But yeah,
yeah. I mean that's kind of just that bit at the beginning there. I guess that's there because they find out that these Terradrome parts are actually originating from Denver and not from Cobra Island. So then you're thinking, oh, what's going on in Denver?
Yeah. This is where they start realizing that Cobra have, got almost like a bigger foothold on the United States than they thought.
Yeah. And then that other thing happens which happened on, I think it was the Frusian Land episode or one of them in the 60s or 70s or was it a special mission? I can't remember. But where one of these Terradromes, it comes out from under the ice.
The ice, yeah.
I mean, how is that constructed under the ice to kind of like, it's pre-built, and it's just waiting under the ice to burst up. That is some engineering feat to get that happening. But
can I also our attention to the moment that Storm Shadow, Stalker, and Wade turn up in an alleyway, and you've got. I just want us to look at Wade's fashion sense at the moment. He seems to be wearing some sort of kind of boob tube, kind of sleeveless boob tube.
Yeah,
with
shades.
I just think it's amazing. So it's showing off that midriff, like real sexy midriff.
And then they just lay down some punks want to hustle Snake Eyes for some money, don't they?
Yes.
And he just lays the hurt on them.
I really, really love the way this fight scene is staged because the Snake Eyes is so sad. This is sad Snake Eyes. Scarlet's in the hospital, and first of all, the street toughs are calling him Claude Rains.
Amazing.
It's a weird deep cut reference for street toughs to be making in general. But
I love these street toughs. One's got a baseball bat, one's got a chain, one's holding a
Ghetto
ghetto blaster, one's holding a screwdriver, or a knife. It looks like.
Yeah, I mean, these are right. I think it is a screwdriver.
Yeah, love it. These are proper stereotypical street toughs. Love it.
Bronx bum. That guy on his t-shirt, on his vest, has got Bronx bum written on it. Amazing.
Yeah, or is it Bronx Jim?
I'm hoping.
Oh no, it is a B. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Oh, but
Bronx
yeah,
Bim.
no, you're right. No, it is a gym. I just automatically assume bum.
Now I wish it was Bronx Bum. And in that next panel where I'm looking, where you're seeing,
that's when you code name
Bronx Bum.
Yeah.
Live with the Bronx Bum. Anyway, on that next panel, there's some. I didn't notice this before, but there's some graffiti on the wall, and it says rule. So it obviously says Decepticons rule.
Nice.
Which I hadn't spotted before. One guy's got a neckerchief. Is that a thing? One of these.
It is in the G.I. Joe universe. There are a lot of neckerchiefs in the G.I. Joe universe. Tunnel Rat, Xandar, this guy.
It's much like
Night Force Tunnel Rat, Tiger Force Tunnel Rat. They've all got them.
A lot of guys like a good outwardly facing jockstrap, don't they? Mindbender especially, but a lot of the other villains.
Who doesn't?
That, yeah.
If we're going to talk about Dr. Mindbender's costume and how it's one of the most amazing things in all of G.I. Joe, like I'm here to discuss it.
Yeah, in all of comicdom, really.
Oh, it's so good.
Mindbender's come up a few times. Have you ever seen that like one where he's incorrectly inked to have like no trousers on?
Oh, I wish I have. Yeah,
I'll send you we'll put that on the Twitter feed and I'll send it to you guys afterwards. There's a cracking panel where they haven't coloured his kind of pants in, so he's basically got this thong on and then just these sexy fleshy legs on show. It's hilarious.
Right.
So yeah.
Cobra Commander, aka Fred Seven's, been a right sleazeball here, isn't he? He's trotted out the scantily clad ladies in his car because they're trying to sell some weapons to some dictators, and he's like, "I'm Cobra Commander, welcoming you to come on board and have a good time," as he kind of parades these ladies.
This same page has one of my favorite lines in all of G.I. Joe, which is the panel right before that, which is, Cobra is no longer a terrorist organization. It is a terrorist state. Big difference. Which, again, is like that's not a joke for 12-year-olds.
No.
Yeah.
It's not even a joke now.
I mean, and then later on, Cobra Commander's he's at the party, and you can tell he's a bit half sloshed, and he's trying to come on to one of the girls there. Here you are, sweetie. Anything else you need? How's about some plastic explosives?
Gross.
She's all over it though. She's like, tee-hee. She's game for a laugh there.
I think she's terrified.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, and this all kind of, this is where everyone gets grouped together. So you get your Raptors, your Zartans, Billy, and this is where they all kind of end up, don't they, in the landlocked freighter.
Yeah.
Prior to that, this is where Raptor's saying, I know where the body is of Cobra Commander. Why don't we clone him? We still got that cloning technology, Mindbender. Mindbender just goes along with, let's do it. And this is where the kicks off big time here. This is where it really gets good. You've got this lovely Mark Bright art, and they've gone to somewhere in Denver where the body's buried. There's a load of Vipers on queue, and all they find when they dig up the grave is a jacket with a bullet hole in the back, and then there he is, the big man, with all his CGs. And then you get some amazing backstory here where Cobra Commander's saying it was Fred 8 who followed Fred 7 to the burial site. He then took me a quick call on the secret Fred hotline. Brilliant.
He's got Fred's 8 through 59 with him.
Yeah. I love that in Roman numerals.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Amazing. And then the Fred Doctor. This is where Cobra Commander's come back, and obviously Larry's tweaked him a bit, so now he's a bit more of a parody of himself, I guess. But he's drawing that fine line between he is ruthless because they're saying, but what about your son? You were going to go straight, and he's like, what am I, an idiot? It was a lapse of judgment. I'm all about the tyranny and the ruling with the iron fist, but it's also completely laced with this kind of black humor throughout his character.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because you get this really, like, around 50, which, we have not seen the real Cobra Commander in a while.
Yeah.
But you get that actually really good arc of Cobra Commander rediscovering Billy and, like, those issues where he's running around with the beret and the mustache and the goatee.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And, like, there's genuine humanity and pathos in that.
Yeah.
And then after his betrayal, when he comes back, he's just like,
again.
No more humanity. It didn't work out for me. I'm fully Cobra Commander. Yeah. And I love that because he's like, he lays it out. Like, he's like, I am here to do evil things.
Yeah.
Which I think is
brilliant.
Really good. It's so fun.
And the pacing is just incredible because it's just breakneck. He's just reappeared and literally, some 16 pages later, he's back on Cobra Island. He's got all of his, the hierarchy of Cobra. He's even shoved Mindbender and Raptor down into the tanker, and he's just going to off them all. Just like that. It's just breakneck action.
I love how he all those kind of, charges have already been set. It's like he's been planning this for a long period of time.
Yeah, he mentions that his CGs have been doing secret operations on the island.
Amazing. It's so ridiculous, this plan, that, I think it's crazy that Larry thought, how am I going to get the landlocked freighter? What way could I do it that sounds just ridiculous? Because he could have just shot them all. He could have done so many more simple things here. Like, he's got them in a tin can, effectively. He could blow it up. He could do whatever he wants to it. And instead, he blows up the area around it, creating a funnel for it, like a water funnel for it to kind of flow down towards the volcano. And then he blows a hole in the side of the volcano, which then makes the boat go into it and go over a precipice, and obviously kind of crash at the bottom. And then he blows up most of the volcano so that it just comes crashing down and buries it. And it's like, man, there are cheaper ways to do that. There are easier ways to do what he just did. And I would say more, practical ways to make sure people are dead. Because you're giving them an opportunity, which obviously Larry has to do in the writing here.
Yeah, to steal a line from Chris, that is a classic Marvel Comics bullshit.
Yeah, there are easier and more effective ways, but are there more dramatic ways?
No.
Yeah.
Think of a more dramatic way to kill those people. I'll give you 5 minutes to do that.
He's not just trapping them in the freighter,
No,
and he's not just throwing them into a
No.
volcano, which
No,
is
no.
an active volcano that exists. No, he's going to blow up part of the island. It's a complicated death trap. I love it.
But it's
'Cause
also
again,
one of those clever ones because it allows him as a writer the freedom to potentially bring back any of those characters he wants.
Yeah, true.
and I love when that does happen, how many people actually die.
Yes.
Yeah.
They all eat the bad MREs.
Yeah, it's quality.
It's like weirdly very funny.
And kind of lost in the shuffle of all this is we actually get to see Destro for the first time, his face. I mean, he doesn't really appear in these issues apart from a very small part where he's now going straight. You know, we were mentioning earlier where that arc where Cobra Commander decided to go straight, but now Destro's saying he's going to give it all up for the love of his life, the Baroness, and then he unmasks for the first time.
And to the credit of the casting agents on G.I. Joe: The Rise of Cobra, he does look exactly like Christopher Eccleston.
Not that Christopher Eccleston wishes he ever did that movie.
Yeah, don't get me started.
I can't ever bring myself to hate those movies because they're very, very bad, but they're also complicated and stupid in the same ways that G.I. Joe is complicated and stupid.
Yeah.
Just completely different. Again, President Zartan. I will never fully hate a movie where I can talk about President Zartan.
Yeah, that was a stroke of genius, really.
Oh my god.
And the other thing that mustn't get lost in the shuffle is the fact that these scumbag jugglers show up again, and they're once again threatening to completely disband G.I. Joe if one more thing goes wrong, which of course is kind of justification for Zorana and Cobra triggering the implants in Clutch and Rock and Roll, because if they wreak havoc in the pit, that will be the one thing that tips the fall of G.I. Joe over the edge, I guess. I'm not really sure that was necessary, because I thought Cobra were planning to trigger their implants anyway. I don't know if that juggler bit was necessary, but you know, I guess it adds a bit of tension.
Again, very complicated stuff going on.
Almost overthought.
Almost. Yeah. I'm sure I've talked about it before, but I'm sure you guys have read the interview that Larry did with Newsarama a while back, where they asked him how far ahead he was plotting on G.I. Joe, and his answer was 2 to 3 pages at most, which blew my mind.
Yeah, I've always thought that, like, because he's done he's talked about that a lot in panels for years down the line, and I remember the first time I heard that was at Rollout Roll Call, like in, God, it was a number of years ago now. And
he was there 2012, he was there, I think.
2012 it would have been, yeah. And I remember him saying that and just kind of like feeling a little bit disappointed in a weird way, kind of thinking, oh, I thought you'd have like this huge, like, you know, you'd go into his room, like his office, and it would just be like
a wall chart.
There'd be a map on it with all the characters with like crosses through, and if they're dead, like all connected with like string and stuff, like it was in the movie Seven or something. And no, it was just I just make it up as I go along, effectively.
Simo, have you tried that technique of 2 to 3 pages ahead?
Oh, that's the way I write. Which is infuriating to certain writing partners of mine who remain unnamed. But yeah,
2 to 3 panels.
I always I am a very much we'll figure it out when we get there sort of writer.
Brilliant.
Which does not always work in my favor.
I call it the bridge layer technique. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it, yeah.
I love that as an idea, because you really, presumably Larry Hama never knew when Hasbro was going to call and be like, hey, we need to put this guy in there. We need to write in the Rattler now.
Yeah, I never thought about it. Or when the book is going to get cancelled. Either of those things. Yeah, I never thought of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good point.
Because I can imagine most comic writers and we were talking about Mark Russell and Prez, which got cancelled 6 issues into a 12-issue run. There can't be many things as a writer more depressing or upsetting than having planned out big arcs or finishing or endpoints to then have that not come to fruition. That must be...
I can tell you from experience, it sucks.
Okay. Yeah, that's not nice. So the 2 to 3 page ahead means that you're potentially not going to be in that position. So yeah, maybe. And I'm looking at a page. I'm going to talk about it right now. We're on issue 99. Cobra Commander, it's page 7. Cobra Commander has now landed in Broca Beach. This page is just absolute classic. That first panel, there's the the marching band. Cobra Commander's got a big stride on. Look at that gait he's got. There's kids throwing rose petals on his path. The next panel has got him holding a baby, and in the background there's a kid who looks about 7 or 8, and he's got a Cobra Commander hood on. Amazing.
I took note of the baby. Because that means that's not like a mother handing her child. That's like a Crimson Guardsman who has acquired a child for him to hold.
Fact. And then the next panel, amazing.
That kid with the brown Cobra Commander mask. That Brilliant. Is amazing.
And then the next panel, he's gone to see Buzzer, the Dreadnoks, and his first line is, "Not enough mould on the stale bread. The cells are nowhere near dark enough." Brilliant.
Yeah.
Get more mould, man.
And this is where we see kind of Zorana save her really, because she can control Road Pig and he's a threat. So yeah,
I guess this is how the Dreadnoks, because Larry always liked the Dreadnoks, and this is where they get their second chance, because she tells him about the plan with the implanted GI Joes, which kind of gets them off the hook. And then we get a bit of Spirit and Mutt, who's going to see his Uncle Jeff.
That bus driver's face looks like Big Boss from Cops.
Yeah, I was trying to think, where does that remind me of? And that was a great TV show.
Cops is in G.I. Joe continuity.
Yes, it is.
Really?
Yeah, Beachhead's like dad or something, isn't it? Or is like great-grandfather or something? I can't remember. He is the great-grandfather of, or the father of one of the characters, isn't he?
Now, I remember watching Cops as a kid. I have not seen it for 30 years. I love the design. I really want it to hold up, but I'm worried about watching it in case it doesn't hold up.
I would avoid watching it then.
That's
my suggestion.
I bloody love the Cops.
Okay. Well, I'm 50-50
now. Future time.
Cops, Central Organization of Police Specialists. Fighting crime in a future time. Protecting Empire City from Big Boss and his gang of crooks.
But those designs were great. Anyway, yeah. So Mutt's gone to see his Uncle Jeff. He's tagged Spirit along for the ride. They've gone to Millville, and again, it gets a little bit kind of darker, because they go to see Uncle Jeff and he's a bit racist, isn't he? Because you didn't tell me your friend was an Indian.
Oh,
this
I'm prejudiced or nothing.
Is it problematic here or what? I don't know.
This sequence has one of what I would put it up as one of the funniest pages in comics, which is when they're sitting in his kitchen, and it's 4 step panels. It's the same shot.
Amazing. Yeah.
And it's a silent beat, and then Uncle Jeff says, "Don't know why you bothered to come here. Cousins all moved to California after your aunt died. There weren't no jobs here anyway. I'm just sitting here by myself, waiting on death to catch up with me." Then there's another silent panel of the two Joes looking at each other, and then Junkyard barks.
Amazing.
So good.
Yeah, that is good. He's gone real dark all of a sudden out of nowhere, and then that final panel, genius.
I wouldn't say that comment is problematic, actually, Chief. I think that's Larry kind of he's adding that in there to say, look, this is something that people say all the time. It's like, I'm not prejudiced, but I don't think it's. I don't think.
No,
it's I
don't think it is. This guy's an old timer. And it was probably par for the course for him and his generation. And it is a really good that 2-page sequence is really good. It's, and like you got a gamut of emotions and thoughts throughout that whole 2 pages. Really well done. And let's not discount Herb Trimpe for the art on this as well, because he's done a bang up job.
I think it really helps to set the scene of Millville as quote unquote economically anxious.
Yes, big time.
This, city that's ripe for a Cobra Commander takeover, because everyone's just depressed and miserable and a little bit racist.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it does. It does set the scene. This kind of hick town that's down on its luck or whatever and looking for a change.
I didn't mention before, but when you were talking about Cobra Commander landing in Broca Beach, he's coloured in such a way that I thought was quite poor at first, and obviously it kind of improves as the issue goes on. But are we to believe now he's rocking his black uniform? Because it's almost like there's almost like a hint of grey-blue, but I'm wondering if that's done to make it accentuate the black. If that makes any sense.
I wasn't even aware he ever had a black uniform.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
they
this is the black suit.
As well. Yeah.
Is it? Okay.
It's blue in the way that Superman's hair is blue.
Yes. Yeah. So they've done that to make because I mean, if you look at the way he's coloured in that first panel when he turns up, you understand why they have to do that, because look at it, it's just so flat and like there's hardly any detail on the show. It's really difficult to get anything to pop, isn't it? When everything's all black.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I totally understand why it has to be that Superman hair kind of black.
What do we think about these two teenagers who've kind of stumbled into the desert?
I think this is the precursor for the Area 51 raid.
Oh man, if they had been Naruto running this entire time, brilliant.
Yeah, nice.
I know. I think it exposes a security risk that the Joes have to really think about.
But I think it just goes. They spend too many pages on it for me. It's just it goes on a little bit too long. That they get too much airtime.
Well, I think that's a function of the whole 2 to 3 pages ahead thing, because obviously the way that Larry Hama deals with all that is he just lays out a bunch of story hooks that he can return to later. And these kids, I feel like, were probably meant to do something else. And then he remembered number 100 was coming up. And if I had to guess, that's what happens. Because all they do is, do they show up after 100 when they're like, we want to go home?
Yeah, that's it.
Probably not.
Yeah. I think they're interesting characters. I do like that this is a comic from, God, when was this? 89? And it's two girls who are super into Star Trek and sci-fi.
Yeah.
And,
1990. It's 1990. This one, April.
Blimey.
Yeah. I like that G.I. Joe is a book that will go... G.I. Joe is a book that is maybe the best comic as far as diversity and inclusion.
Yes.
I have told people, think of another comic book that has 2 Native American characters in it that are completely different.
Yeah.
No, can't do any.
And you can't. And part of that comes from, toy line mandates, right? Like when they told Christy Marks that, the original plan on Jem was for Jeddah to be black, and they told her that she couldn't be black because you can't have negative portrayals of black people on. You couldn't be a bad guy.
Oh wow!
Which is one of the reasons that Cobra kind of sort of low key comes off as a white supremacist organization.
Yeah. True.
You also get the Joes who are super diverse, which I think helps to. No other book can get away with having, the archetypical 80s white ninja, other than a book that was written by an Asian American guy that has this incredible cast that also features a bunch of really good female characters.
Yeah, strong female characters.
That are also all very different. You would not confuse Scarlet and Lady J and CoverGirl and Baroness.
Jinx. And
They all have a lot of their own personalities in a way that I really like, and I feel like this is just a microcosm version of that.
Yeah, big time.
Because these 2 characters who didn't matter, so why can't they be 2 teenage girls, 2 13-year-old girls who end up sneaking into the pit?
And they just welcome Lady J's like, come on board, come in.
Yeah, hop in.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love
We're
it.
not a top secret organisation or anything. Tell your parents. Peace.
Yeah.
Also, we get to see Steamroller and the Mobile Command Centre in this issue, and we'll see him again later, and I think in a better way. But the way they've drawn him in here, it just basically looks like Flint with a cap on. It's like it's very generic how they've drawn him. And then I wonder if because it was out in '87, and Steamroller that is one ugly kind of that face is full of personality, isn't it? That figure. So I was a little surprised when I saw this panel and was like, oh my god, he's so bland on this particular panel, but it improves. Good.
Because again, I'm, as I repeat every single week, my knowledge of the toy line kind of petered out, past sort of 1988, and I've got all my Joe knowledge from the comics. But that's why Chris M is here for his toy knowledge, amongst his editing skills and all the other stuff that he does for the show that I can't do. But anyway,
that was like that thing in Monty Python was what the Romans ever done for us, and then they just start listing off all these things that the Romans have done, and that's what you did then. But for me,
all right, but apart from the sanitation, the medicine, education, wine, public order, irrigation, roads, a fresh water system, and public health, what have the Romans ever done for us?
But you've not done that much, I don't think. Couple of really cool pages to close out this issue 99 before we get to the big 100. Roll out the Armada in Broca Beach, because all the storefronts start opening and all these vehicles start coming out as they assemble the troops. Amazing. And then the last page, literally as the big CC boards the helicopter, and then all these the Aspid, and then you get this front-on shot of everything coming. Tonight I'll settle for one small town, Millville. Wait a minute, that's where Mutton Junkyard are.
I love the Mambas in that as well. Just Mambas look cool, man.
Yeah.
I think the debate that people want to have, or that people should be having, is what comic relies more on coincidence as the engine that drives its plot? Is it G.I. Joe or X-Men?
G.I. Joe, definitely.
Yeah, there's a lot of, they just happen to be there.
Star Wars.
You got that one too.
Isn't a comic. It's not a comic, but you know what I mean. They do the same thing as almost like C-3PO is seems to be the one character that connects everybody in the entire Star Wars universe.
I'm in a massive minority because I'm a big Star Wars fan, and he is actually my favourite character, and I don't know one other person whose favourite character is C-3PO.
I wouldn't say he's my favourite. I don't dislike him in any way, shape, or form, but I don't even know who my favourite character is.
I would be very curious to know if you've watched past like the first 5 minutes of
of the first ever movie.
Yeah, because there's a bunch of characters in there. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was me being a jerk.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I stand by the decision.
IG-88. He's my favourite character.
He's good.
Because
he gets about 2
rubbish.
minutes screen time. Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to see him in action.
He's an assassin droid, isn't he? Right, Seeds of Empire, issue 100, the big one, and it starts with a bang, or more of a thump. Yip, oh, as Cobra Commander lays the boot into this dog.
Just to underline how evil he is, right?
Maybe the best page in G.I. Joe history. And this is good because it comes back as a pinup.
Yeah.
It like 3 issues later, someone else draws this.
And you can tell that he's actually, it's not just a little love tap. It's like a football penalty kick. Or he's going for a 60-yard field goal. He has literally put his back into that and tried to kick this dog's face off.
He's trying to bend it like Beckham.
Yeah. And as if that wasn't good enough, then the next 2-page spread is just incredible.
Can I just say the art, the colouring, everything about this issue is gorgeous. Like, and now we can see Cobra in his black uniform, nice and clear. Do you know what I mean? That's how it should be done, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of laying down the law to Millville here, basically telling them, he's not here. He's bringing them the blessing of Cobra domination, which is quite ironic. And, he's talking about there's going to be jobs for everyone and subsidised housing.
No taxes.
Yeah, that was interesting. I picked up on that.
I'm in.
No taxes. How's he going to get away with that?
I'm in.
Well, here's the thing. It's a lie. like when most people say that taxes are bad and you're not going to have to pay them if they are put in charge, it's a lie.
Yeah.
Agreed.
But I really love this because, again, it's like Cobra's candidate is like weirdly sophisticated, particularly given its intended audience. Like Cobra Commander is coming into this, and this would have been like the mill towns, right? Would have been huge news in '89. Yeah. I don't know if either of you guys are pro wrestling guys at all, but there's the Dusty Rhodes Hard Times promo is also about steel mills closing down and the auto workers are out of work.
He put hard times on Dusty Rhodes and his family. You don't know what hard times are, Daddy. Hard times are when the textile workers around this country are out of work and got 4 or 5 kids and can't pay their wages, can't buy their food. Hard times are when the auto workers are out of work and they tell them go home. And hard times are when a man has worked at a job 30 years. 30 years. They give him a watch, kick him in the butt, and say, hey, a computer took your place, Daddy. That's hard time.
And so you're getting this, town where the mill shut down and everybody moved to California or died, apparently. And Cobra Commander comes in and, hey, good news. The jobs are coming back. The factories are coming back. No taxes. It sounds really familiar to me.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds familiar nowadays, yeah.
There's also a free Cobra daycare for the kids, so I don't know what that entails.
Yeah.
But what's his ultimate goal then? Here,
brainwashing.
But for what? What's the long term? What does that get him?
He needs the country on his side. He needs and he's after power. He's after domination. So he's doing it slowly but surely around the entire country. Eventually,
he does actually say, "I'm as American as apple pie and motherhood."
Oh, that panel where the 2 Vipers are carrying, they have the American flag that they put behind him as a backdrop while he gives his speech. They just kind of shuffle into panel with it.
Amazing.
So good. I think a key thing that a lot of people who aren't super into G.I. Joe, like the 3 of us, they miss about Cobra Commander is that it's a pyramid scheme. It's all about power and making money at its heart. And you get some of that in the issue where he comes back and he explains how he was able to rebuild his fortune while he wasn't around.
Yeah.
And I feel like you have 2 kinds of people in this book, right? There's the people who are going to hear him talk about not paying taxes, and the mills are coming back, and they're just going to go along with it because that's what they vote for. And there's the people who need to be brainwashed by going into the building and getting their Cobra IDs, their Cobra driver's licenses. And I feel like it's a really smart way to play it as Cobra Commander coming in and basically giving his campaign speech.
Yeah.
He's going to make Millville great again. You know, like it's he all but says it in this book.
Yeah.
And
he's got the charisma.
It's a really smart way to play him because, you know, all of us reading know it's a lie. He just needs another Broca Beach, another place to, another Springfield, another place to launch his...
Well, that's the other thing, isn't it? He's expanding dramatically too. Like, he even says it in there that he built his particular brand and company and size and everything. It was kind of like expanding, and you can't stay in one town the entire time. You have to go out and find other places, which they did with Broca, and now they're doing with Millville. So effectively, he's getting strategic positioned places in the United States, and his plan is just to take it over.
Yeah. I mean, it's the Cobra Commander we've probably all wanted from issue 1. You know, this, big, starting small, then turning into a global. I mean, okay, yes, Cobra's a global organization anyway, and they got Cobra Island, but this is, where you first, this is the grassroots building up from the ground, and this is the kind of, maniacal side of Cobra Commander that, that really, I don't want to say, ticks a chord with me or whatever, because I'm like that, but, it's just very appealing to me as a story. It's just great. It's just,
Yeah, I really love the way that this plays, because it plays off of Cobra Commander coming back and wanting to be bigger.
Yeah.
It also plays off the lesson he learned from Springfield.
Yes.
Because if you concentrate everything in one town, then all the Joes need to do is figure out what town it is, and then you've got a problem, and Serpentor shows up and steals all your thunder. So
and if you're a dissenter, then the quick solution is, well, we're going to brainwash you anyway.
Yeah, just put them in the brainwashing machine. There's a lot going on in this issue, obviously, but I love that those first 10 pages, maybe 5 or 6 pages of the takeover of Millville and how easy it is.
Yeah,
for him to just roll in.
They cut the phone lines and they switched the police over. They put road blockades. They got the Condor in the sky jamming the frequencies.
We're jamming, and I hope you like jamming too.
Like you say, it just happens really quick, and it's really militaristic, and it's it's a well-oiled machine, and he's already got them in the palm of his hand. By the end of sort of 10 pages time.
Yeah, and he doesn't even need to brainwash all of them. He doesn't even need to get all of them.
Yeah,
he just needs to get most.
That's the scary thing, yeah.
Or enough that the rest of them will go along with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's played so comedically, and it's genuinely funny. It is a genuinely really funny thing for Cobra Commander to kick a puppy and then give a speech in front of the American flag talking about apple pie and motherhood. But it's also it's familiar and sinister, because this is not the first time these tactics have been used on the public.
I'm trying so hard not to say anything about current times, but yes. Also, this is where we kind of go and we see Clutch and Rock and Roll again, back in the pit, and they haven't necessarily been switched as yet, but they're babysitting the 2 young 14-year-old girls who are not children. They're almost 14, they say. I'm sorry, but you're too young. And
I kind of wonder if that was because comics were so weird back then. I kind of wonder if that's Larry kind of dunking on Chris Claremont for constantly talking about Kitty Pryde being 13 and a half.
Nice.
Yeah, it could be.
It would not surprise me at all. That is a classic Larry move right there.
Yeah.
And in fact, I mean, that happens, not just with Larry, but with loads of writers. I think it's always cool to have those little
it's a classic
hits in there.
Marvel Comics. Kind of hate everyone.
It's like rap beef, isn't it? It's it's like this is Larry's this is his freestyle right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes.
And just correct me if I'm wrong, but the ability to turn on these implants, it can only be done within a certain range, which is why Zorana's gone out in these pythonized stuns and conquests, etc., so she can trigger this thing which is going to make these 2 go buck wild in the pit, supposedly.
And the only one who notices is our man Dusty.
Yeah, I love Dusty. Love Dusty.
Dusty's great. In fact, again, this is where it kind of... I love it when we start getting fringe characters in play, and I'm not saying Dusty's necessarily a fringe character, but he's more specialised, as is Muskrat and, Wildcard and so on and so forth. And so, we're getting these guys now. It's like they're being utilised because Dusty is a desert specialist, and he can see something, and he's like, yeah, I don't trust the machines make mistakes. I think that's something over there. Let's go check it out. And it's almost like a special mission mini while the regular issue's going on.
Yeah, that's probably a good shout. It does feel, separate enough to be a self-contained kind of thing. And then, love Wildcard. He's broken the radio.
The radio's knackered, yeah.
Standard. I don't know why they just, don't give him some sort of reinforced things, or don't give him the radio or any levers or anything that he can actually break. But bit more comedy from him there. And then Clutch, once the switch has been flipped, and Clutch is destroy and rock and roll's kill, and these two 14-year-olds are probably in their pants right now.
I would be, especially when you've got rock and roll holding those two hunking great Gatling guns.
Yeah,
like hand pistol Gatling guns. Yeah, they are amazing. I bloody love those guns. They're crazy good.
And you mentioned previously about Steamroller in the the Mobile Command Center.
Yeah, looking awesome in this one now.
He's got a cap that says Mac on it, and this thing pops out the ground.
Actually.
How is this under the ground?
I know that there's a reference in one of the previous issues, isn't there, where they say that's bigger than the Sandcrawler from Star Wars.
Oh, right,
nice. It was like a cute little kind of shout, because it is, and it has been described as a Sandcrawler, hasn't it? The Mobile Command Center. It's so very similar aesthetic. I bloody love this thing, and we may be hearing about it later. Spoiler alert.
Which means we are.
But I did notice as well. Now he's not wearing a white t-shirt under his vest now. So at least we're back to normal, half naked Steamroller. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. There's quite a lot of G.I. Joe characters wear the vestless or the t-shirtless top, don't they? Gung Ho's a big fan.
Yeah.
But there's quite a lot of others with like the bare chest look. I think it's a good look myself. Yeah.
Naugahyde,
I might try it at work tomorrow. See how it goes down. Probably with my resignation.
Do it.
But yeah, good fight scene here. Good fight scene. Mark Bright always draws good explosions and stuff. Just this is kind of a chase scene. They're trying to get Zorana. The Mean Dogs chasing them down. Then Flint and Lady J pop up on the Silver Mirage, don't they? And this is where the Zorana gets away because she steals one of the. Who are these dudes? Are they just regular Vipers?
He's a Python Televiper, and the other guy was I think there were regular Vipers in the two regular Vipers.
There was never a designated driver for the stun?
The guy they've got in there, I think, is just a Python Trooper.
Okay.
And he gets caught early on. There are two regular Vipers involved and the Televiper. Although, when I look at one of the Vipers, they've given him a Televiper helmet. Have you noticed that? If you look at when they crash, when the Silver Mirage shoots the stun and it crashes, take a close look at the two Vipers in the front. I'm pretty sure one of them has a Televiper helmet on. Interesting mistake.
There you go. You spotted that. I didn't. Tell you what, next scene here I really like. It's really violent. It's the one where Mutt and Spirit attack that Hiss tank, because Mutt has literally clocked some Viper on the head with the broken bottle. Junkyard is savaging some guy's face, and then Spirit's absolutely nailed some guy with a 2x4, and then the poor guy in the Hiss tank, he's been his faceplate smashed up, and then Mutt has rammed the barrel of his rifle right into that guy's face.
Those helmets aren't doing much, are they?
Jeez. Good scene. Good. It's portraying the seriousness of the action here.
I feel like they had to give that Viper some dialogue in the next panel, or else you'd be like, "Oh, Junkyard ripped his throat out." 100%. That's what happened.
Yeah. Junkyard's quality. I mentioned on a previous pod, I don't really care for who's the dude with the Bobcat.
Spearhead and Max.
I'm not really down with Max, to be honest. Law and Order. They're all right. He's like a poor man's Mutt and Junkyard, but Mutt and Junkyard's where it's at for me.
Are you not a Wide Scope and Lamont guy either?
Who?
2000 and I can't remember what year, but there was a new era build. Wide Scope was like the new Shockwave looking dude, and he had a dog called Lamont.
There you go. No, not a fan. Don't know who they are. You're a fan, obviously.
I'm a fan of. I love animal companions.
Okay, right. Favourite animal companion across any...
Talon.
Yeah,
raptors.
Okay, I was going to say across any pop culture.
That's tough.
And that question goes to Simo as well. I'm a big fan of Cringer / Battlecat.
I mean, obviously, like I like Crypto. I like Ace the Bat Hound.
Yeah,
we do get Crocmasters crocodiles in 98 or 99.
Talking of cod pieces, yeah.
Oh, I love Crocmaster.
He's amazing.
I feel like anyone who thinks that G.I. Joe needs to be like serious military fantasy or serious military stories needs to remember there's a guy with telepathic control over crocodiles in this universe.
And if you want a different take on him, I've just recently reread the IDW Cobra series.
He's great in that.
Amazing. And his arc in that, his like 2 or 3 issue arc in that is fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, I like both versions. I'm not saying, you know, one is better than the other. I love this original Marvel run Crocmaster, and that IDW one is just a different take, and, you know, they both occupy different places, which is cool. But yeah, Crocmaster is I think he's named his crocodiles as well, didn't he? But I can't remember off the top of my head.
It's like Missy
female
and Cheryl.
names.
I was trying to figure out what if there was a connection, but nothing sparked in my mind.
Oh, there definitely is. Like, Larry, he's gonna have to tell us.
Yeah, he's bad. He's bad. Yeah, and then what?
We get Psych Out as well. Sorry, I just noticed Psych Out comes in this one as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, this is where they kind of, you know, we find the fallout of the Clutch Rock and Roll brainwashing. They're unconscious, and the girls kind of recap that, you know, things were getting really intense, and then they both rolled their eyes and passed out. And then this is where, like you say, Psych Out pops up, and it's...
And Doc,
you know,
as well, sorry.
And Doc, yeah, big fan of Doc. And it was an internal conflict between their personal ethics and the Cobra programming. So that kind of neatly wrapped up that bit. Zorana gets away.
Oh, Skidmark is in this one, or Treadmark as we know him, and the Desert Fox as well, yeah, 6-wheel drive.
Oh, yeah, there he is. He's driving Dusty around. That's why they find the captured... or the tied up Cobra dude, and Zorana's stolen his Pythonized uniform and escaped. And then kind of the concluding bit here is and Spirit and Junkyard have gone round to his Uncle Jeff to make sure he's okay, and bloody been brainwashed, hasn't he? And he's sicking the Vipers on him.
Yeah.
And that wraps up that issue.
What a great cliffhanger.
What a great cliffhanger. I was trying to find some, because I've got the single issues here. I've had them hard bound in like 25 issues at a time, custom bound. I was trying to find some letters pages from an upcoming issue that refer to issue 100 or issue 98 for the Return of Cobra Commander that we could talk about, these letters pages. But the volume I've got in my hands only goes up to issue 102, and that doesn't contain any letters. So that's a complete letdown on my part. but I'll find volume 5 because I'm in the loft recording. And volume 5 is downstairs, so we'll do that on the next episode. But what a great 4 issues all told, and you know,
stonking,
really good. I mean, if we were going to, what we do on this show, Simo, is we do. I stole this from you. We do every Joe story ever.
Okay.
Because in fact, and if you haven't listened to War Rocket Ajax, go out and listen to it. It's one of my favourite podcasts out there. And Chris and co-host Matt Wilson. I actually listened to issue 400, episode 460 this morning, where you revisit Hellboy in Hell.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Good stuff. Listen to that. That's the latest episode, which I listened to this morning. Go check it out. The boys do an every story ever, where they're merely the arbiters of the list, and they chisel away and proclaim the rankings of every comic book story that's ever been written. And I actually stole that, and I'm doing my own personal one. But also alongside that, on this show, we do every Joe story ever, where we rank every Joe story on the list. And what we need to do is give this a Yo-Joe Cola rating out of 10 so that we can put it somewhere on the list. Now, I know that the Millville stuff does carry over, but I think there's enough here of the conclusion to the Clutch Rock and Roll and the return of Cobra Commander for us to rank it. So, out of 10, what are we going to give? And we can all give it different marks. What are we going to give it? Issues 97 to 100. I don't know who wants to go first.
Chris, you go first. Simo.
Like I said, 100 is probably my favorite issue, just for that 6-page sequence at the start. 6-7 pages of Cobra Commander taking over a town. It's so cleverly written. The voice is so on point. It's really great, and it's why like Cobra Commander is maybe the worst person and the best character, I think. But I would give this one like maybe a 9, like an 8 or a 9.
Yeah,
because I don't think it's as technically well done as like 21.
Yeah. I mean, how would you compare it? Previously, on the last episode, we covered the Snake Eyes trilogy. Would you, the going out the door test, are you going to pick up the Snake Eyes trilogy to read again, or are you going to read these issues again, do you think, first?
I mean, that's really tough, because the Snake Eyes trilogy, I mean, you go forth as a killing wraith and let no man deter you. You go into the Arashikage mindset. in that one. I'd say, like, again, I think on a technical level, I think that one's probably like a 9 or 10. The Snake Eyes trilogy. Although weirdly enough, it is a trilogy that definitely like continues in the following issue. He definitely called it the Snake Eyes trilogy and then decided how long it would be.
Yeah, that's really when you know you're working 2 to 3 pages ahead.
Yeah, but again, I feel like a lot of stuff that happens in this issue is maybe not as exciting or as groundbreaking, but from the cover, that beautiful cover on the way all the way down, like what a great issue of G.I. Joe. So if I was going out the door and like going to lunch where I had some time, I'd probably read the Snake Eyes trilogy, but I have gone back and reread this single issue. Yep. Like people have asked me, they're like, hey, what comics do you read that are like comfort food, or like, you know, you're having a bad day, you're in a bad mood. And this is like one of the only ones that I will just go back to.
Yeah.
And read that opening sequence. It's always, weirdly enough, puts me in a good mood. Like, this Cobra Commander loses in the end. I don't know if everybody knows that.
Spoiler alert.
Set on fire in 150.
Yeah. Is that Slam Dance?
Slam Dance in the Cyber Castle? Yes, it is.
Castle. Yes, it is. Okay. Well, if you're free, we might get you back. We might get you back for that one as well. Then.
Oh, so good.
I think I'm going to go the same as you. I'm teetering between an 8 and a 9. I might end up giving it a high 8 or a low 9. But pretty much for all the reasons you stated there, issue 100 as a standalone is fantastic. Chuck in, you know, especially 98 where Cobra Commander comes back and all that flashback story, brilliant. But I'm going to go somewhere between an 8 and 9. I'm yet to decide. Chris M.
High 8 for me.
High 8.
High 8 for me. I think, from what you guys have said, it's really solid story. I must admit though, I think 100. I agree. I think from a art standpoint as well, you've got the action in the desert with the fight and everything, and you've got one of my favorite, again, you've got like a lot of favorites in there for me personally. And yeah, there's just, I mean, as an arc as well, like really complex, really kind of overtly larried, and I think that's what makes it really, really good. But at the same time, like a lot of the ones that I really enjoy are where you've got kind of more special mission based kind of issues, and even like I think so far one of my favorite issues has been that second silent interlude.
Issue 85, SFX.
Yeah, that was
SFX
one of my favorites.
Is so good, and nobody ever talks about it.
Exactly. I feel like it's even better than the first one, but you know,
that is controversial.
I know
you mentioned
that
before. It's actually, if I look at our list, that is actually at the top of your list as your favorite story so far.
I still think that still sits up there a little bit for me. It's just so good, and it's so fast paced and looks beautiful. And
we mentioned
it's
Paul Ryan in his only G.I. Joe artistic appearance. What happened to that guy, man? Don't know.
Well, when you did that, you don't. That's it. It's only down from there.
Well, he did. My only knowledge of Paul Ryan is that issue, and the very first issue when I started collecting Fantastic Four was issue 358, which is kind of just towards the start of the Tom DeFalco, Paul Ryan run, where, you know, Alicia is a Skrull and all that kind of stuff. And then he stayed on that crazy DeFalco run, which I've got a soft spot for. I don't know about you, Simo. You like that run?
I do.
Yeah.
This is the last thing I'll say. I know I've probably talked your ears off about this, but I find it staggering that this is 100 issues into G.I. Joe and it's still this good.
Yeah.
And, like, it kind of has been, like, there's peaks and valleys, obviously, but, like, it's kind of this good from, like, number 10 to, like, number 150. I will go to bat for the Ninja Force stuff.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I still love all that crap. And I hadn't, I think for a long time, hadn't read the last few kind of issues of the run up to, like, 150, was it 155? And I remember kind of reading those for the first time in, like, you know, my kind of like early to mid 20s, and just been like, just kind of like, oh man, I'm really upset I missed out for so long on this comic, even though it's not as good, as it began. I don't know. I just have there's a weird connection to it, like a really strong feeling and vibe to just this entire Marvel run. It's incredible.
Yeah, and the fact that Larry, you know, had that such strong, I don't even want to say vision, because, like, you know, we've already mentioned it, 2 or 3 pages at a time, but, you know, he
vision.
He knew what the book was. He knew what he wanted the book to be, and God damn it, you know, it's, you know, strong runs of, like Simo mentioned, you know, and Marvel at the time, you were on a book and you got an extended run. That kind of happened to an extent with the artists as well. You got that really strong Mike Vosburg at the start, then you got the Frank Springer, the Rod Wiggum, the Ron Wagner, and now you get a kind of a nice Mark Bright period. And
I love Mark Bright.
Away goes Jones down this left side. Bright's at the far post and delivers the perfect execution. 3-0, and it's Mark Bright the scorer this time.
Mark Bright was my first favorite comics artist.
Okay.
Because he also drew that first issue of Batman that I ever read, which is where Batman throws a car battery at a guy.
Okay. Which one's that?
It's 425, where Batman fights a dude at a junkyard.
Okay, and throws a car battery at him.
Throws a car battery at him. It's great. It's fantastic comics.
Yeah, great. I know him from the Black Panther run with Chris Priest, so that's
also very good.
Yeah, not to be underestimated. But yeah, I'm actually in contact with him, semi in contact with him about trying to get a G.I. Joe commission. So fingers crossed that goes somewhere. The airwaves have been a bit quiet recently, so I might hit him up and see if I can get that done.
Please tell him he's directly the reason that I am working in comics today. Him and Jim Starlin.
Done. In a minute, Chris is going to educate us about a toy from G.I. Joe, but I do hear something in the distance. Wait a minute, what is it?
It's a G.I. Joe pop quiz. It's a G.I. Joe pop quiz, question 2.
There is only 2 questions, so don't be alarmed. This is the last one. This is for Simo.
Okay.
You're sitting at home. You're about to DM a D&D session.
Okay.
Your regular crew, unfortunately, is all down with the flu. God damn it. But they've managed to get some replacements that are not aware that you are DMing. They come through the door. Lo and behold, it's Raptor, Road Pig, Fred 7, and Dr. Mindbender. Can you tell me which character class each one of those is going to play?
Mindbender is going to be a cleric, but he's going to be like a weird cleric, like one of those classes from a third-party book, where it's like he does like ability damage or something. Because I think he still has a little bit of that Dr. Bender in him.
Yeah.
Where he wants to invent painless dentistry.
Okay. Can I just say that Road Pig is definitely going to be a barbarian?
Incorrect.
Well, I don't know. No, but do people play against type? Does the jock always play, the hero character? Does the nerd always play the wizard or whatever? I don't know. But you're saying Road Pig barbarian.
Road Pig's a bard.
Yeah, he probably
easily,
is actually.
easily. Not to come on your show and
that's fine.
You're wrong, but like Road Pig's a bard.
Oh, bard. Okay. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
He's got that sensitive soul.
You're talking about Donald then.
I'm talking about Donald. Yeah.
Okay, right. I'm talking about Road Pig.
Okay.
That's how I get round it.
He might play 2 characters then.
That's how I get round it. Yeah, he's going to play 2 characters. Perfect. There we go. And diplomacy is key.
You got yes. You got Raptor and Fred 7.
Fred 7 isn't going to even pick a class. He's going to be like, I'm chaotic neutral. I attack everybody else. Like, that's the way he is.
He's the of the group, is he?
Yeah, exactly. So we'll say he's a chaotic neutral rogue, and then uses that as an excuse to just be awful to everyone.
Nice.
And Raptor is my last one?
Yes, it is, yeah.
I mean, the easy money there is a ranger, right, with an animal companion.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel like he'd maybe go like sorcerer.
Yeah, I was thinking sorcerer personally.
Someone who has like that personal connection to the magic.
That would be an interesting group anyway.
It would be a very interesting group.
Okay, that concludes the G.I. Joe pop quiz. Now we're going to have a quick section called Chris Talks Toys.
Chris talks about toys, ho ho. Chris talks about G.I. Joe. He talks about all the things from the comic book and the animated show. Chris talks about toys. Chris talks about toys. Chris talks about toys. Chris talks about toys.
Hi! Yeah, this will be quick, but one of my absolute all-time favourite things ever is a massive playset that came out in the US in 1987 and the UK in 1989, and that is the Mobile Command Center.
It's the incredible G.I. Joe Mobile Command Center, and it's hunting for Cobra. 3 levels of awesome Cobra chasing, Cobra fighting power. Level 1, armed and ready to attack. Level 2, computer system is go. Engine room, we have full power. Level 3, missiles loaded, let's go! Prisoner secured. Go, Joe! Let's move out! Nobody beats G.I. Joe, the real American hero! Mobile Command Center comes with driver, other figures and vehicles sold separately.
Now, this beauty pops up in the last couple of issues we just discussed, and is this just gigantic... I would say the best way to describe it is one of those like toolboxes that as you open it, a toolbox, you get the kind of sections appearing. It's very much in that kind of vein. And again, I'm sure the people listening to this know exactly what the mobile command center is, so I won't go into too many details. But this beautiful, beautiful vehicle came with an amazing figure as well. But let's go through the actual vehicle first. This is 3 levels, technically 4 if you count like the very, very top. So at the bottom level you had, it's kind of like a engine kind of mechanics area, so that you can kind of like fix the vehicles and so on and so forth. Even came with a repainted Ore Striker engine, which could be lifted by a little manual crane, which was involved in that kind of lower section. And it's so detailed. There's loads of like panels and bits of engine parts and little area to kind of like store weapons and stuff like that. It's just a brilliant kind of packed full of features level. As you go up the stairs, and they have got these beautiful little steps around it as well that kind of go up the left hand side, you get to the next level, which is the Medibay, prison and communication centre, which I think is a nice kind of mix to have in one room. But you have this brilliant...
Don't get them in the wrong room.
Exactly. Yeah, so you'd have in like the little prison section, which is like this just slide up box basically, which you could throw a Cobra figure in there and just kind of close it. And they're like these little slats on the top so they can breathe, which is nice. In the middle of that section, you have 2 fold-down Medibeds, which are just incredible. Again, tons of features in this. And then in the communication centre, a little chair that is on like a sliding point, so you can move it around and spin it around and everything. And this gorgeous Star Wars-esque kind of like perspex, I suppose, like screen, which locks into the floor on that level. And again, loads of detail in and around it. There's still these kind of see-through stickers that go on that perspex piece, and it makes it look like those kind of displays that you see in the old Star Wars movies and the new ones now, because they recreate those. And yeah, it's just an awesome little kind of. It's just an awesome level. I think it's my favourite level on the actual mobile command center. As you go up the steps to the next level, you have this. It's like open top kind of missile bay, helipad. All sorts of different things on there. I wouldn't trust that helipad as far as you could throw it. It's probably more for like, rocket packs and stuff, but there's no way the Tomahawk's sitting on that.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're not putting the Dragonfly or anything on there?
Probably not. No, the Locust maybe. But yeah, nothing else.
How much, out of interest, how much does this thing retail for?
Oh, I can't remember. I think it was probably around... It must have been around like the $50-$60 mark.
Oh, right.
Maybe
okay.
possibly
Sounds
even
cheap.
more than that. Well, yeah, like they kind of... Back then, that was probably quite a chunk of change as well. Like in the UK, I remember it probably would have been about... I would say it would probably been about 60 or 70 quid. In all honesty, so it's probably a bit more than that in dollars. But yeah, it was brilliant. It was definitely like a Christmas/birthday present, special occasion kind of thing. We got it as an Action Force International Heroes branded vehicle playset, and the US obviously got it as G.I. Joe: A Real American Hero. In terms of the box art, it's almost identical on both versions, and you've got the Triple T tank getting its tune up with the crane. You've got like a slew of different characters all over there. You've got Shipwreck, you've got Crazy Legs, you've got Outback, Falcon, Farstraw, Gung Ho in his marine dress uniform. You've got Psych Out, Cobra Commander's in the prison cell, but it's open. But you've got Law and Order next to him, so obviously they've put him in prison, which is hilarious. You've got Sneak Peek, Jinx, and I think Farstraw, and and then obviously some people in the driving seat, but I can't make out who they are. And yeah, and also you've got another mobile command center in the background behind it, as if there's like multiples of these, which really makes me laugh. Like there's more than one of these bloody things knocking about, and it's massive. It's got 4 kind of like treads that it moves on, and then this front section, which is the kind of the pilot or the driver's area with this kind of canopy that pops out. It's got a radar dish with missiles on top of that. It's nuts. 2 huge guns, a missile rack that can be manned on the top. It has a slide down the back which opens out and drops to the ground. And it has this kind of stabilizing piece which locks in the back as well, which is necessary to kind of keep it upright, but also acts like a lift. And that piece can lock onto the side when it's in vehicle mode. So this thing closes up, and that can lock onto the front and onto one of the sides. And it's just brilliant. It's just an amazing piece of G.I. Joe ridiculousness. Steamroller was the figure that came with the vehicle, Averill B. Whitcomb, and that's the same name. Cracking name. That's the same name on the UK card as well. The only difference on the card seems to be that his secondary specialty is armour in the US and it's artillery in the UK. So he's a heavy equipment operator born in Duluth, Minnesota. And his card reads thusly: Steamroller worked heavy cranes on the Great Lakes docks, earth movers in the strip mines of Appalachia, and graders on the 4-lane blacktops of a half-dozen states. He was driving an M15A2 50-ton transporter when he was picked up for the Action Force team, or the Joe team in the US card. He may only be an E5, but no matter who's ranked above him on his mobile command centre, Steamroller's gut instincts are the ones in charge. Qualified expert with all NATO small arms and explosives. And the quote is, he's a moose. He considers a Peterbilt 10-wheel tractor a personal vehicle and a 44 Magnum a pocket pistol. He gets barred from bowling alleys for damaging the pins. He's stubborn, ornery, mean-tempered, bad-humoured, and uncouth. Has he got any good points? Well, he's on our side. And that is Steamroller. And interestingly enough, the thing on his hat is dog, whereas in the comic it says Mac, doesn't it? But yeah, it's usually dog that's written on his hat.
Well, Mac is a brand of truck.
Yeah, and he's also and again that's probably why they couldn't put it on the toy. And he's got an amazing heart with an arrow through it as a tattoo on his left arm as well. And as I said, the vest, open shirt, hat, ugly as sin, ripped, and that's pretty much Steamroller. And that's my Chris Talks Toys this week.
Excellent. As always, educating me, because I know pretty much nothing about any of these toys past my era of collecting. So
I feel like I'm only educating you. I feel like everyone that listens, the people we have on, they already know this stuff.
Well, good for them. No, good for me. Good for me, because I'm the one learning. Anyway, hang in there, Simo, because we've only got 5 more segments of the show to go. No, there's two more segments of the show to go. The next one up is called British Colloquialisms, a.k.a. over-egging the pudding.
We got a pudding, we're gonna egg it. We got a pudding, we're gonna over-egg it. We got a pudding, we got no criticisms. That means it's time for some British colloquialisms.
This week, my British colloquialism is fill your boots, which
Amazing.
No one outside the UK knows what. I don't know. Let's take a pop. Simo, have you got any ideas about what fill your boots means?
Fill your boots? I have no idea.
Okay, so this means it's kind of a go ahead, and in context, this was used today. I was passing by someone's desk, and they actually had a couple of donuts on their desk, some of the Krispy Kreme, just the glazed ones. And I said, "Can I have one of these donuts?" And the guy said, "Yeah, fill your boots," which just means, "Yeah, sure, have a go." So that's my one.
There's also a variant of that called fill your wellies as well.
Fill your wellies. Okay, if it's a bigger thing that you're asking for. But that's my one. Chris, what is your over-egging the pudding?
My one actually did happen this week, and it's something I say a lot and don't realise I say it, and it's a Cockney rhyming slang classic, and that is butcher's hook. Have you ever heard of that one before, Chris? Simo?
Yes, I know what it is to have a butcher's.
Awesome.
Have a butcher's. Yeah, there you go.
And just for those that are listening that don't know, this is the Cockney rhyming slang version of having a gander. There's another one for you as well. Yeah. To look at something, though it may seem strange at first, it's pretty simple. It is constructed out of the expression's second word. In this case, the way hook rhymes directly with look. However, perhaps contrary to expectations, the word hook is often removed, so you may hear someone say, have a butcher's at this.
Yeah, like it. Good one. There'll be more British colloquialisms to confuse our American friends next week, although Simo did get 1 out of 2, so not bad. 50% strike rate, try harder next time. And we will close the show out with
Chief asked Simo a question. Chief asked Simo a question. What'll he say? What'll he do when Chief asks Simo a question?
So, as always, the hope is that he will answer the question. And this week's question to Simo is, as a fellow fan of professional wrestling, what is your favourite foreign object?
Ooh, it's probably the one that I have tattooed on my arm.
Okay.
Awesome.
I have a tattoo on my arm that I'm going to be explaining for the rest of my life, but I got the broken chair leg from the 1985 steel cage match between Magnum TA and Tully Blanchard.
Of course you did. I remember listening to the episode of Ajax where you actually explained it,
yes,
which was cool. But yeah,
it is
explain
the
again.
Jagged piece of wood that is shoved into Tully Blanchard's eye to make him quit in this I Quit match. And I got a scroll around it that says, "If you can't beat him," which is a reference to the Mountain Goats song Foreign Object, which includes the line, "I'm going to stab you in the eye with a foreign object."
I personally will stab you in the eye with a foreign object.
And the finish of that line in the song is, "If you can't beat them, make them bleed like pigs."
If you can't beat them, make them bleed like pigs.
So it's a very aggressive tattoo. I'd like to think I'm a very easygoing guy, but yeah, that is my all-time favorite foreign object. I want a companion piece on my left arm, but I haven't settled on what other foreign object I will get.
Maybe a Jimmy Hart megaphone.
That sounds like a Matt Wilson tattoo.
Yeah.
Do the pins count? Like the little safety pins? Not pins.
The 1,000
like
thumbtacks.
Yes, that was it. Thumbtacks. Do they count?
Is that I don't think that's counted as a foreign object, really, because that's generally used as part of a match. I guess if it's not in the script of the match,
gotta be,
it's not a hardcore match or whatever. No, so you'd think I was kind of on the long side of, Jim Duggan's 2x4.
That stick with a barbed wire around it.
Multiple people's guitars. Jake the Snake's Robert's snake. That's probably counted as a foreign object, I guess. Jim Crockett's tennis racket. That could be one. What about salt in the eye? That's usually, I don't know. I guess, back in the 80s, that's probably a foreign object used by a foreigner in WWF's
that was
obligatory racist characters. Yeah,
and Mr. Fuji would throw the salt for Yokozuna.
The sneaky Pearl Harbor attack. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Wowzers. Okay, yeah. So the broken chair leg, wasn't it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. There you go. Done and dusted.
And covered in mustard.
Excellent. That brings a close to the show. It's been a fabulous show. Thanks to our guest Simo, aka Chris Sims, for coming on. We'll be back next week. We'll be reading. In fact, I have not done my homework because I don't even know what issues to tell you, the listeners, to read for next week. I guess it'll be something along the lines of 101 to 104. But I have no idea where that... It's an October Guard storyline next. I don't even know where it ends. So what we'll do is we'll tweet it out. We'll let the people know which, if they want to read along and do their homework, they can. Where can the good folks find you, Simo, if they want to hit you up?
All kinds of places. But you can primarily find everything that I do at the-isb.com. That'll have links to everything. If you want to talk to me directly and see if I will answer a question, if I am directly spoken to, you can catch me on the terrible website Twitter, which is I am at the ISB on there, THEISB.
Cool. And Chris, co-host Chris, where can people find you?
You should know by now, but basically Diagnostic80 on Twitter and Instagram, and of course the Full Force podcast. You can find that on Podbean, iTunes, Stitcher, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, pretty much everywhere.
And you can find us, Talking Joe, on Talking_Joe on the bad website, as Simo says, Twitter. Talking Joe Comics at gmail.com if you want to fire a question. Talking Joe Comics on Instagram, and Talking Joe, a G.I. Joe podcast on the Book of Face. I recommend everyone go and check out War Rocket Ajax podcast. It's the internet's most explosive pop culture podcast, and probably the second best podcast out there behind this one. But with all that said and done, we will catch you down the road.
Bye.
Bye.
Fantastic.